Today we are going to discuss a very interesting battle in the American Revolution, the Battle of Bunker Hill, which took place on June 17, 1775. While I discuss this topic, I want you to think about how this event impacted both sides in the war. Now, on June 16, 1775, the British troops were ready to attack Bunker Hill. At this time, the colonists occupied the area. If British troops are successful, they will gain complete control of the Boston Harbor. Now, I want you to take a minute and to pause the video and think, why would the British troops want control of the Boston Harbor? Okay, now let's come back to that thought. Why would the British troops want control of the Boston Harbor? So if you think about this, the Boston Harbor would provide an area for troops to receive additional resources, supplies, and help throughout the war. So this was a very desirable place to take over and control. Now, on the evening of June 16, 1775, the British troops were resting, sleeping, in preparation for this battle that would take place the very next day. Now, while they were sleeping, the colonists were very busy working. Now, you might wonder what they were working on that evening. In fact, the colonists were able to build a 6-foot-tall dirt mound, protecting that area that the British troops were going to invade. Now, General Howe, the leader of the British troops, saw this mound of dirt and became very angry. He was also impressed that the colonists were able to complete that amount of work overnight. Now, General Howe decided he would take the wall down. So he ordered the surrounding ships in the area to fire at the wall. Now, after many shots, the wall remained standing. So the general sent his troops up the hill to attack. The British troops were easy targets with their bright red uniforms, and they moved very slowly up the hill with their heavy equipment and gear. So the colonists knew that they were coming up and were able to prepare for a battle. As the troops were marching up the hill, the colonists held their fire until they were close enough to see the so-called white in their eyes. They wanted to make sure that their shots were accurate and that they were actually taking down those forces. And they were very successful. Many of those British troops were killed and or retreated. Now, as the British troops were retreating back to the bottom of the hill, they got there only to see General Howe, who was so frustrated, he turned them around and sent them right back up the hill, where again they faced the same kind of issues. Now, the British did catch a break. So the colonists, although they were very successful with their positions, they ran out of ammunition, which gave the British just that leeway that they needed. With the colonists out of resources, they had no choice but to retreat as British forces stormed through the area. In the end, the battle claimed many lives. The British suffered the most with over 200 casualties and over 800 wounded. Surprisingly, the colonists walked away with less than half of that number. Even though the battle was won by the British, colonists gained strength from this battle. Now, there was a very important significance to this battle. In the end, the British and the colonists both came to the same realizations about the war. Now, for the British troops, this was not so inspiring, but for the colonists, this battle gave inspiration. Now, I want you to think for a minute. What could the British have realized that made them worry? And then I also would like you to think about what could the colonists have realized that gave them motivation. So pause this video and see if you can come up with some reasons for both questions. The Battle of Bunker Hill was significant to both sides. While the battle gave the British troops the realization that the war would be longer, costly, and tough, it gave the colonists a boost of morale. They realized with their passion and unity, they could have the chance of beating this massive army. Now that we have some background knowledge on this topic, I want you to pull out a piece of paper. Now, with that piece of paper, I want you to pull out the golden nuggets, so to speak, of the lesson. Think of 1 to 3 key ideas or pieces of information that answer our question from the beginning of the lesson, which was how the battle impacted both sides.